Hey there, friend. Chances are, if you're listening to the Inventory Genius podcast, it's because, well, you really want to become an inventory genius. If that's you, then let's stop just listening. Let's stop just collecting information. Let's start doing. I want to invite you to grab your copy of the Inventory Genius book. I wrote this book with you in mind. It delivers bite-sized actionable steps that will help you use your inventory to create more profit and keep more cash in your business. This is a really easy to read book. In fact, I designed it specifically for the busy inventory-based business owner. It only takes about 2 hours to make your way through, and you're going to leave with practical bite-sized steps so you can start implementing the principles of the Inventory Genius method immediately. Head on over to Ciara, Stockeland.com, where you can grab your ebook, your Audible version, or the printed copy. Enjoy! Hey friend, welcome to the Inventory Genius podcast, where we work together here to make you an inventory genius. We talk about profit, we talk about cash flow, and we definitely talk about your paycheck. Because at the end of the day, it's all related to your inventory. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inventory Genius podcast. I am your host, Ciara, and today we are going to be talking to two awesome entrepreneurial women, both of which work behind the scenes in the Inventory Genius program. They've been hanging out with me for several years now in different capacities, first as students, I guess, if you will, or clients, and now both help on the coaching side and the organizational side. And they're just big cheerleaders for me, which we all have to have those people in our court. So I love having them on the team. Candy and Megan, thank you for joining me today.
Hello.
Thank you.
All right. So today we're going to talk about just what's it like behind the scenes of the Inventory Genius program. I know both of you have, you're obviously in my programs. You've been in other programs as well. I have also. I think all of us listening have tried different coaching groups, and we've tried masterminds, and maybe we've tried mentorship groups. Some of them are amazing. Some of them are epic fails. And I just wanted to give our listeners a sneak peek as to what it's like in the culture here, what we care about with our clients, why we really truly want every woman to succeed. So I have a couple questions that we're just going to talk through conversational style today. And I'm really excited to hear what your answers are, because I don't know what they're going to be. But with me, you can be honest. It doesn't all have to be, roses and rainbows. But Candy, let's start with you. Let's start back, tell me a little bit about your business experience, and then segue into what you wish you would have known when you first started out.
Okay, so my daughter and I were business partners, and we started with a women's boutique. Then within a year, we bought a cafe that was existing in our town, and we opened a cafe and we had the boutique, and our town was very small. So it was just my daughter and I primarily running everything, and we ran ourselves ragged in the beginning, most definitely. But fast forward, and a situation with my daughter and her family, they ended up moving out of state sooner than they anticipated. And we ended up liquidating and closing our boutique after about 4 years. And then we sold our cafe. So that's where I am now. I'm no longer a business owner per se, but I have been in the trenches.
Yes. Way deep in the trenches.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as far as what I wish we would have known, I mean, I can sum it up with one word, which would probably be, Megan would agree, everything. I wish we knew everything that we had learned, but primarily we started immediately with someone to help us with our bookkeeping, because we knew that that was not our strength. And we wanted to make sure that we were well organized in that area. However, we didn't know what to do with that information whenever we got it.
Yeah.
And so working with you and understanding our financials helped tremendously to see where we landed each month, to know if we were in the red or in the black. And then once we implemented more of a profit plan for our business, that's when things just really, really took off for us, where we never ever had to worry about money, whether we would have money for inventory, sales tax, payroll. federal taxes at the end of the year. We had money for operating expenses. So once we actually implemented that and stuck to it, that changed our business dramatically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a couple nuggets that people should pull out if this is their first time listening, or maybe they've heard this in different areas on the podcast or in some of my groups. First, you ran yourself ragged and decided that is not the way you wanted to run your business. And I've always been really proud of you for that, because I think a lot of business owners just settle into this belief that that is how it is. Like we're just sold this bucket of lies. It drives me nuts that
Right.
if you own a business, you have to, and we do like eat, breathe, sleep, like we think about it, but it doesn't have to rule our life. And we can figure out ways to control our time,
Mm-hmm.
and to say yes and no to things. And you and your daughter just made that a non-negotiable. Once you
Right.
saw that you did not want to live that ragged lifestyle, you changed your hours. You didn't let the outside dictate what you wanted. And I've always loved that about you guys. And then that second piece, you had books, like you knew that right away, but then what do you do with the numbers? And just seeing that you needed some help with that, I think is good. It's to me, you've always been someone where you identify a shortcoming or a weakness or an area that you want to improve, and then you go look for a solution, which is
Mm-hmm.
a really important mindset for an entrepreneur to have.
Well, and I think people have to be ready to do the work. And it's not always hard work. It's just maybe small changes that you just need to implement and, or maybe look at things a little bit closer,
Yeah.
more often. Once we started looking at our numbers weekly and, benchmarking with you and things like that, that just definitely opened up our eyes versus just getting a profit and loss sheet and the balance sheet at the end of the month and be like, okay, we knew
Yep.
what we had in the bank or whatever, but it really helped us hone in on what we were needing to improve upon, or, areas that within our profit plan, I've told this story before, but we were paying ourselves nothing. And it was really starting to become a mental weigh on our ability to actually want to come into work every day.
Yeah.
And it started to really kind of affect our relationship in the sense that, I was kind of the one, it's like, we just got to keep moving forward. We'll get there one day. We'll get there. And, Jesse was like, well, if we could just pay ourselves something that would help. And my husband told us that, if you just pay yourselves $1, at least you're paying yourself something. And I said, I'm worth way more than $1. And so
Yeah.
therefore we just kept paying ourselves nothing.
Yeah.
But the profit plan, we got to a point where we just kept increasing our percentage and increasing our percentage to a point where we were both very satisfied with what we were getting each month from our owner's comp account. And,
Yep.
if things would have been different, I've always said that, I'm just curious to see where we would be at today
Yeah.
as opposed to where we, when we closed and did all of that, how things would be, because we were moving forward kind of at lightning speed.
Yeah. Once you made those choices, put those plans in place, and then stuck with them,
Mm-hmm.
it really did. It's that domino effect. Like, and we could see the snowball, the domino effect. So,
Yeah.
so
Small
exciting. Megan.
changes, small changes made a big impact.
Yeah. And that's where I think sometimes we get overwhelmed and think like, oh my goodness, but I left a $60,000 salary. How do I get back there? And we just think too big. And it's just that
Mhm.
bite-sized actionable step, like one step today, one step tomorrow, and staying after it. We don't have to have tomorrow all figured out. It's just, what do I
Right,
need to do today?
right.
Yeah, Megan, tell us about your business background, and then what do you wish you would have known when you started?
So I'm Megan Vanya. I'm the current owner, but we're in a little bit of a transitional period right now, maybe selling it, of an e-commerce online boutique. And like so much. I wish I would have known so much. But the main thing is buying smart from the start, like
Mm,
not getting into debt over all the pretty things, and just not having any understanding about turn, any understanding about margin, any understanding about the functioning parts of the business. I think that that's what you taught me. And I was able to like take those nuggets. And because I understood margin, I could stretch that dollar a little bit further and start paying myself, start, making chunks out of my debt. And I think that if I would have known it from the start, I would have bought so differently. Like
Yeah.
by the time I found you, I was like 2 years in. So, but this kind of was the leeway to something else. But like whoever told me to come to you, she was like, if you want to find a coach that really cares about you, you'll go to Ciara. And I think that it was just having your help along the way. And so when we kind of hit roadblocks in my life and my husband lost his job, the business was so solid by that point that it was
Mm.
paying for us like to live. And
Yeah.
it would not have it was a hot mess before. But because I had done the work and really understood my percentages, I was able to up our owner's comp and take down, OpEx. And I was able to play with the numbers so that we could afford to live in this time of like unknown.
Yeah.
So I think I would have totally bought differently. And I would have, the old saying like buy low, sell high, I would have sold higher,
Yeah. Even higher. I
Yeah,
know.
like just try, as much as you can get for it, get it. But I think that I really do think that knowing like exactly what Candy said, knowing the numbers and knowing how they play into how you get paid and how
Yeah.
you can provide for your family. Cause like this is a business. And I think that through working with you, it turned from a hobby to like a true business, to where I can sell it as a profitable business in a down economy now
Yeah.
because we did the hard work. We
Yeah.
didn't do the like you said, like we this isn't glamorous, but like this is necessary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally would have done some things different.
It's interesting that you mentioned doing the work before you needed the results of the outcome. That's something I've been on a couple of other people's podcasts lately and talking about this very thing, whether it's relationship focused, money focused, wherever that focus needs to be. You cannot wait for turmoil to start the work. Like when you're in the middle of a struggle, and we're all going to have them, some are worse than others, you can't go out and look for relationships and friends at that point. You have to have had built those already. You
Yeah.
can't try to figure out all the finances when, like, you were in that situation that you became the sole breadwinner. You had to do that work ahead of time. And I can't emphasize that enough, because I think some people listening might say, I'm doing $1 million in sales, or I don't have any debt, or it's just really uncomfortable to change, all these excuses we make. You need to start today. Like, I don't care if you're making $10,000 a month or $500,000 a month. You have to stop playing store with your store and wise up and figure out how to be intentional today, because you can't wait till the storm comes and then start. It's too late.
It's too late. I mean, no one could have projected COVID, you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and like no one could have projected how that would affect small business. So having that profit account, even if it's small amounts,
Even
that
if it's small. Yeah.
even if it's small itty bitty amounts that you're putting aside for a rainy day, that gives you the ability to tap into when storms come. I mean, they're going to come.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's because we had done the work early, then I was able to play with my margins and play with my percentages that I was moving to pay us. And there's just no way we would have survived that year if the boutique, you know, wasn't in good shape.
Yeah.
It was our lifeline.
So
So
that brings me to another question. And the three of us, the team, we've been talking about this a lot. It was kind of an aha for me last year, the difference between committed and interested.
mm,
Because I would say every single person who listens to this podcast, you're all interested, or you wouldn't be listening to a podcast on numbers. Let's just be real,
Mhm.
right? There's other raw podcasts you could listen to. So we're all interested in getting rid of our debt. We're all interested in increasing our paycheck. We're all interested, but commitment is that step further. So in the inventory genius framework, both of you coach clients that come now. Candy, let's start with you. What makes the framework work? Like, we have to have the committed mind. Someone has to say, I'm ready to do the hard work. I will be uncomfortable. But what in the framework itself of what we coach helps them take that commitment and actually make progress?
Well, I don't want to convolute it, but I think there's various things. One, when you're working with a coach, I mean, we can help you dive into, I guess, whatever it is, and work on a plan to fix the problem. And,
Mhm.
because you can't hop on 9 times out of 10, you cannot hop on a call and fix it with one call, right? It's
Yeah.
going to be some work and some things that need to happen in between time, between the next call. And, with you and I have been talking about the roadmap, of putting things together for people. And, it's a plan that's proven itself that it works. It is that commitment to doing the plan, to taking the action, to doing the steps and following that through. Now, if you work with a coaching client today, they may be on step 3 of the roadmap, for example, because 1 and 2 is already done. So that's where we'll start, is step
Yeah.
3. But really what you want to work on is step 8. Well, we can't get to step 8 unless we do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so that is, and I say we, but really it's them that's doing it. And
Yeah.
we're just their cheerleader, and we're here to answer questions, and we're here to help them understand. But then you have a library of information, that's accessible to people who do the quick start and join the Inventory Genius group. And that is all information that they can obtain on their own time, and if
Mhm.
they want to
Mhm.
take a weekend and hole up in a hotel or shut themselves in the guest bedroom and just, I'm going to do all this training, they could make a big impact even doing that.
Yeah. You know what? That's really funny because I was just talking to Rebecca, who's graduating out. So sad. Graduating out. She's worked with me for, you guys know her, worked with me for 3 years now. And she just doesn't need me anymore, unfortunately. I'm like, Rebecca, you really don't have to stay connected. Like, you're smart. She's paid off all her debt. Her and her partner take amazing paychecks. I mean, she's set up, she's ready. And now our calls have become more, what are you listening to? And what are you working on with your kids? But she said something to me on her last call. She said, when I started with you, I watched everything. I sat down, I binge watched it, I did the work, I was filling out the workbooks. Those are the clients, those committed clients that say, I'm, like you said, I'm going to block some time away. I don't have extra money, but I can go to my backyard. I can sit on my porch. I'll figure it out instead of TV. I'm going to work on what I need to work on. And the framework's all there. And the step-by-step process of where are you today? What's the next step? It's interesting because it doesn't matter the gross revenue that comes in, if they have a lot of debt, no debt at all. I start with everybody in the same spot because it's those foundational pieces. Some of them move quicker through the foundational pieces, some we take a little bit longer. But yeah, it's just stacking one thing on the next and then being willing to move to the next. And when they get
Mhm.
stuck, reach out to their coach and say, I don't know how to move from 3 to 4. I'm really stuck, having that person. Megan, in your opinion, what do you think makes the Inventory Genius the framework of what we coach
I think,
workable?
well, I was saying to someone the other day, dreamers and doers are very different people. So you can
Mhm.
have the dream that you're going to be debt free or that you're going to be profitable or that you're going to be paying yourself, but have you done the work to know like how much inventory? Like I swear everyone gets stuck on just taking a day and knowing how much inventory they have, like that
Yeah.
is a huge part of us moving forward is knowing what we have, what we need to have, what we need to get rid of, and having those conversations. You have to take a physical inventory, so
Yeah.
doing the hard work. But you're right, like I remember when I started with you, that first of all I was like not making any money, and so I was like, if I'm going to pay for this, I'm going to sit down with my journal, and I took notes like it was a college class. And
Yeah.
I literally would write down my notes. I would go back, and math doesn't come easy to me, so I would have to go back, get my phone out, do my calculations, pause, start again. And so I think having the ability to have the library, be able to do it as you need. And if you're like me, you need to pause it, you need to do your math, you need to, start again. But also the community aspect of we have the free Facebook group where they can ask questions. And Candy and I and Ciara, I mean, we've all owned businesses, so we can all jump in. So whether it's a report
Yeah.
they're missing, whether it's, I'm stuck, how do I, get more in my OpEx account, or how do I decrease this a little bit? Like I'm too heavy over here. I think it's having those communities really makes this totally different from any other coaching aspect you could have.
Yeah.
And then I will say the way you teach it is just so like easy to follow. It's just little bitty steps, and every single person can get on a call with you or watch a live. We just did the debt free challenge. Literally those little bite-sized actionable steps. I know you say that all the time, but they're just like little itty bitty steps. And it's almost like a checklist. If you can just fill your number in here, times it by this, you get this.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
so simple. And I feel like everyone else just makes it so it's just broad. Like when I met with my CPA and he's like, all right, what's your on-hand inventory? Like I have no idea, like
Yeah.
this is how you find it, and I think really truly the community aspect, the bite-sized actionable steps, and then having a coaching call with either Candy or I or you, um, then we can dive deeper into, okay, well, what is the issue? Is it you have too much inventory on hand?
Yeah.
Let's talk about ways we can get rid of that inventory. Like we can dive into you more personally. But even just having just those two things, the library and the community aspect, I think it was so impactful for me. So
Yeah. If you use it.
yeah,
You
but
have you have to use them.
that's the
Yeah.
thing, right? Like dreamers and doers, they're different personalities. You can
Yeah.
say I want to own an online boutique all day long, but you have to do it. Like
Yeah.
it's not, gonna just make you, it's not a get rich quick scheme thing.
Yep.
You have to do the work to get the money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, it's hard work.
We
And a
should
lot of,
make a t-shirt. You have to do the work to get the money.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
And a mug and a
And
hat.
the mug.
I love it.
You want the money,
I
you
would
gotta do the work.
Yeah.
I would say anytime that we made a change, no matter what type of change it was, whether it was the way we were buying, whether it was, our finances and changing the profit plan, we would review it in 3 months and 6 months. We gave it time to
Yeah.
actually see what it was doing. And, then you could actually, if you started to focus in on everything or on some of those things each week, you would see no improvement. But it's like, let's let it ride. Let's
Yeah.
check it again, in 3 months and see where we are. And then let's see if we can make more changes, for the better, or if we needed to wait another 6 months. And it kind of taught us like the the game, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it was a plan, but yet we kind of made it a game.
It is
And as we
yeah,
would
it's a
watch,
game.
yeah, as we would watch our profit account grow, we're like, yes, but we were not putting in thousands of dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And I share this at one of the live events, just small things over time. At the end of a year, I don't even know that it was a full year as of yet, but we had $10,000 in the bank. And for our business, that was huge, huge.
Yeah.
And we had everything paid and we didn't worry and stress about money. So, and that was with debt. That was with the Shopify loan. That was with us having an employee. And so, and COVID was in there too.
Yeah.
So, it makes a huge difference. And now
Yeah.
today's, a lot different as far as you're able to be open. And half of that year we weren't open. So
Yep. Well, I want to talk about why having a coach is really important. I want to share some thoughts that I have, and then Megan will go to you, and Candy will have you follow. I think one thing is interesting. So everybody comes to me with one of two questions, sometimes both questions. So they'll either say, "Where's all my money? Like I'm making a lot, lots is coming in, but I don't know where it's at." Or they'll say, "What do I do with all the debt?" So that's what I get. So that's usually the symptom, right? And so because I've worked with hundreds now, women across all different kinds of inventory, whether they're wholesalers, makers, manufacturers, retailers, any kind of inventory, for lots of years, lots of business sizes, I can very quickly, in 30 minutes, very quickly dig into and figure out what probably the real problem is. And that's what makes a coach really valuable. So when you're on your own, you sit in your own headspace and you talk to yourself all day long. Is this the problem? Is that the problem? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Or you get outside advice from people who should not be giving you advice, which then creates more confusion on what the real issue is.
But a coach is not emotionally attached whatsoever. Like, I'm not attached to your inventory. I'm not attached to your loans. I'm not attached to your family members. Like, I can easily say in black and white, if you do this, this will happen. If you don't do this, this will happen. And I can go in and ask really interesting questions. So a couple examples, all of these people came to me with those same questions. Where's all my money going? Or I have so much debt. What do I do with it? One person, their actual problem was not inventory, it was their team. So very inefficient running of people. We were being held hostage by the team. So saying yes to everybody, letting people buy whatever they wanted, letting people work whatever hours they wanted. So I had to push a lot on, yep, we're going to get to the inventory, but before we do, we have to fix the structure of the people. Because if you fix all of the inventory problem, but then you let your people run rampant, it's just going to fall back apart again. One person, same questions, it was slowing down. We had so much money coming in, lots of available money coming in. So it was just getting spent really, really fast. So we're slowing everything down. We only buy once a week. We slow down our decision making. Those kinds of things I can see really quickly that a lot of times you don't even think. And you think, well, the problem with the debt is XYZ, when really that's just a symptom. So that's what I really appreciate about the coaches that I've had as well, is that they're able to ask me really pointed questions. Oh, wow, I never thought of that. And I'm able to do that with clients. Megan, what do you love about being a success coach, or where do you feel like you give people the most value on the coaching side of the phone call?
This side of it has been really fun, because it is like troubleshooting with people and getting to know, like, okay, what is the problem that they are having. And I had a call the other day with a girl that she has so much inventory that she didn't know what to do with. So we were just literally on that call brainstorming. Have you tried mystery bags? Have you tried zip code bags? Have you tried, putting them together in like a collection? Have you tried reshooting them? I mean, literally, we were just like, I just gave her idea after idea after idea. But I would say, when I was getting coached by you, and also what I try to help other people, is when you get stuck and when you are in the mud, or like you just don't know what to do next, it's really nice to have someone who come alongside of you and like push you to be uncomfortable to do
Yeah.
the next right thing. And so, like, you can even look at athletics or whatever.
Yeah.
When you're at mile 12, someone to come alongside of you and run that mile with you is really valuable in that mile. And so when I was walking through a hard time and having you say, no, just keep going, let's just, we know what works. Let's just keep going. Let's not convolute it with all these ideas, because that was me, like, I want to open this and let's try this, but let's just keep doing the next right thing. And so I think having them understand that you really care about their business and you want to see them succeed, but that you're going to push them, you're going to tell them the truth. I mean, even post graduating from you, Ciara, and being on the coaching side, I've asked you questions about my business now, and you've given me the hardcore truth. And that is the value of not having a yes man, but having
Yeah.
someone push you to be better. And that's a value, in my opinion, is having someone to come alongside of you, know that it's going to be tough, but like push you to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
So I would say that's, in my opinion, that was the biggest value you gave me. That's the biggest value you give our whole, anytime you get on and do a live, you are not scared to tell them the truth. And sometimes the truth is hard and it's ugly and it's not the thing that everyone wants. Everyone wants to talk about, marketing tactics, but no one wants to talk about debt.
I know.
So it's not.
Someone I talked to recently was like, you need to tell people you make numbers sexy. And I was like, yeah, I do, because they can be sexy. Like, making money is what's
Yes.
sexy. So let's actually, yeah,
Paychecks are sexy. Like
right.
that's what we need in our life. Every entrepreneur needs a good paycheck. And that was something that Candy also, watching you do your business. And that's that aspect of community, is watching someone else do their business really well and setting boundaries and paying yourself consistently, so
Mhm.
that when I am like, oh, I don't know if I should pay myself this week. I can, hire someone, or I can, make sure everything else gets paid, but not Megan. It was like, no, I know that I can pay myself because I've set this aside in my owner's comp account, and I'm going to use it for my family. It
Yeah.
kind of gave me the permission. But yes, to go back, I would say really the value of coaching is when you get stuck, to not only have someone to help you through the mud, but to push you to do it and to stay
Yeah.
on you and to make sure, like, okay, did we take a physical inventory? Okay, let's now talk about margin,
Yeah.
so I think it's definitely one of those things that it's so necessary, and it's hard, but it's good. It's good
Yeah.
for your business.
And it's expensive.
It's
But it's
expensive.
so expensive not to do it. Nikki, who's in the group now, I'll have to interview her in a couple months. She just started with us, but it was so much fun to get on the consult call with her. And she's like, I don't know if you remember me. And I was like, I do remember you. And she said, I should have just hired you. I should have hired you. I didn't want to spend the money. And I made so many mistakes. And now I'm a year in and I've spent hundreds of thousands on stupid things because I had no clue. She's like, it would have been cheaper to just hire you. I'm like, I know, but here I am. So we're working together now on cleaning up and fixing some things. So, but it's an investment. I just don't understand though. I mean, we invest so much money in the business. Like, we quit our jobs, we mortgage our houses, we invest all this, and then we're like, ooh, but I don't want to spend for a bookkeeper, and I'm not going to spend to have good advice. I don't know why we get so stubborn in those ways sometimes as entrepreneurs. But Candy, I digress. So Candy, what do you think is valuable? Like, what kind of value do you try to bring to the clients that you talk to?
Well, as you said, everybody, they bring similar problems, right? But they all may have different true problems to the symptoms that they're asking about. Um, I I really want to help people dive into fixing the problem. And as you said, it's asking the right questions. It's real easy for us, I think, Megan and I both, to get excited for you because one, we know the changes that can be made can make a big difference.
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes there's a lot of hand holding and mindset, help with people, particularly if someone's been in business for several years. It's
yeah,
going to be hard for this person to start to make the changes because they've built these habits that have been ongoing for maybe 5 or 10 years, but yet they also want help and they know that there's a problem. So, with that said, that's where we have to kind of dig into, all right, this is how you've been doing it. Let me show you why, if you make this change, then this can help. But I'm going to use an example of, there's people who have not entered their cost of goods into their point of sale system. And that baffles me, quite honestly, because yes, it's a pain to do.
yeah,
But it's a bigger pain if you don't do it when you're just setting up the product into your point of sale. That information gives you so much information, as far
yeah,
as how much inventory you've sold, what your margin is, and things like that. And so, if you're listening today and you do not have your cost of goods entered into your point of sale, please start there before you even think about booking a coaching call, because that's the first thing we're going to tell you to do, right? If you don't have it
yeah,
done. But I think the value is, one, we've been taught by you, and so we see your values yourself, your passion for the business. You constantly work on training us to help train others. Um, we're learning alongside everybody else, whenever you implement something new or whenever you suggest a podcast to listen to or things like that. So, we're getting information and we're being coached by the coach, Ciara. So that way we can help others. So I do feel that there is value in coaching one on one, because also it's a very lonely place to be as a business
yeah,
owner. And when you can reach out to someone, who now you've started to trust because you've opened up, you've allowed yourself to be very vulnerable with your numbers and with your business. And, we totally understand. Megan and I do, you do. And, we've all made mistakes. We've all been there. And I feel that most every problem is fixable. It's just a matter of how much time commitment
Yeah.
and how much time is going to take to fix it.
Yeah. I think another really valuable piece to a coach that we don't always think about, we think about like the cheerleader, like we hear about that, they're your cheerleader. But it goes deeper than that. It's someone that truly believes when you have lost belief that you can fix something or that you are worth something, to have someone that truly believes that is not true, that truly believes you can fix it. You are capable. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this gal was talking about her coach. And when she did the consult call with her coach way back when, the lady said, "Here's my price." And this gal said, "Oh, I don't have that much money." And the coach said to her, "You'll figure it out." And she's like, in that moment, she's like, "Whoa, what?" Like, she didn't say there's excuses. She didn't offer a payment plan. She said, "You'll figure it out." And she's like, suddenly I was like, I can figure out things, and I've had so many clients where they'll come to me and we're working through something. I'm like, this is fixable. Like, we can work on this. I believe in you. Like, it's okay to close your store. It's okay to say no to things. It's okay to give yourself a raise, And there's something really special about having someone, not just a cheerleader, but someone who truly believes and can help you believe in yourself again, because that's a lot of the battle as well. We just lose sight of like what our true potential is because we've made a lot of mistakes or we've been told things or whatever the reason. We're in a lot of debt. We've wasted our family's money, all the things, So there's so much value there. Anything else that you guys would like to add about the Inventory Genius Success Coaching Program? Like what you'd recommend for people, how we can push them over the line? Like there's so many of you listening who have been thinking about it. I know it's an investment. Maybe you've tried coaches before, you've been burnt. I've worked with people like that too. You've been in a mastermind. It was not what people I mean, there's all the stories, right? Any other words of encouragement you guys could add for someone that's listening that's just scared, nervous, worried?
I would say too, Candy and I and Ciara are always talking amongst ourselves. And there have been issues that have come up that, I don't have a background in restaurant business, or she doesn't have a background in social media selling, or like subscription boxes. And we can kind of use each other's knowledge to help each other, to make sure that we're giving sound advice. And I think that is valuable. Because there's been
Yeah.
several times where I've called Candy and I've just said, okay, this is the situation. It's a coffee shop. You know what I mean? And I think we can kind of chat with each other and go through, okay, this is exactly what I would recommend.
Yeah.
So I want people to know that like you're not getting only like my knowledge or Candy's knowledge or Ciara's knowledge. Like it's a combined, like we're one big happy family over here. um,
Yeah.
so I think that, and honestly, like there is nothing that you can say to me that Candy or I or Ciara would be shocked by.
Yeah.
Like
You can't shock us. You literally cannot shock
you
us.
are not too
No.
far gone. Like I think that that's the thing is I want to say that to someone on, if you're listening and you feel like you are too far gone, that's probably when you need to pick up the phone and schedule a call, you
And can
know?
I interrupt with that and say, even if you're listening, I know you're listening, so I'm talking to you. You're a multi-million dollar business that's been in business for 10, 20 years. You're like, they're not, I am talking to you too. Like, I have seen every mess,
Yeah.
and you're not too, like, we can always work on fixing things.
But we've also seen it transition. So like that's the thing is that the reason that we can believe that you are not too far gone is we have seen businesses make small steps to make it and make it better, and be able to weather a storm because they made the small steps.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just I just want to say that because I think right now, especially there's a lot of people that feel like they're too far or like they're too much in debt. They're too much, whatever it is. They're too over their head. You know, don't give up. Let someone help you, before you just decide to do whatever we're deciding to do. But I
Yeah.
really do think schedule a call. There's nothing that will shock Candy, Ciara, or I, and we will break it down and we'll figure out what is step number one, right?
Yeah.
And let's walk through step number two, and let's walk through step number three. Like it is fixable always.
Yeah, that's good. Thoughts, Candy?
Well, I will piggyback on what Megan just said, because there's been many a times when I've been on a call with someone and I said, I believe I know the exact answer to this, but I want to check with Ciara. And then I do a follow-up email with the client, because I do want to make sure that I'm 100% certain that what I'm telling them is correct. And, as far as Megan said, we did have the cafe and an inventory based business. Everybody that has an inventory, like you said, sells something for money, exchange goods for dollars. We all have the same problems, but it doesn't really necessarily mean that we have the same products.
Mm.
So some of the times, using a cafe as an example, the way that we go about costing, figuring out our cost of goods sold for an item that we're making is a little bit different than just buying from a wholesaler and marking it up and putting it in our store. But we all achieve the same thing at the end of the day, as far as looking for profit, being able to pay our bills, and being able to pay ourselves. So with that said, and you mentioned if you're a multi-million dollar business and you have inventory, this is where, if they were interested in coaching, it's possible that the accelerator program that you lead is something that would be good fit for them. And, maybe they want to explore that option, because that program has, Megan and I have both been a part of it. Megan and I have seen many, many businesses just blow the roof off of their building, with the changes that they've made and their growth in their business. And then there's been businesses in there that have decided that they were going to sell their business or close their business because it was time.
Right.
Yep.
So I agree with that there are many, many answers, many, many questions, many, many different answers. There's so many variables with each different business. And that's why coaching one-on-one works, because we
Yeah.
can help you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Okay, word of advice to all of our entrepreneurs, and it doesn't have to be inventory or numbers related if you don't want it to be, but let's give a closing word of advice to those that are listening today. Candy, I'll start with you.
I would say don't be afraid of change, and don't be afraid of failure.
Mm,
Um, because, I'm going to use the word failure loosely, because I felt like even though some things didn't go the way that we had planned, and we may look at it ourselves as a fail, it really was a learning opportunity.
yeah,
And so therefore, let's review what we just did, what did and didn't work, and can we do it again and do it differently and do it better
yeah,
and make it work for us. And therefore, we had to change. We had to change something that didn't quite work out the way that we thought it would. And be open minded, whenever you're thinking about all of those things. And that's life in general. If we just become very, looking forward, straightforward, and never ever looking to the side, don't get distracted. But
yep,
if we are afraid of change, and we are afraid to try to take new steps and potentially, quote unquote, fail or learn new things, then that's all where growth happens.
Mm,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
good.
So good. Megan, what about you?
I would say get out of your own way. I don't know who's listening to this, but if you are thinking that it's A, too expensive, or B, you're too far gone. Those were two of the things that were in my way, you know, 5 years ago or whatever, when I signed up with you. And I think if I were to go back and do things differently, I would say get out of your own way, because I was so small minded in the growth and projection of where I thought my business was going to go. And I think having you lay the groundwork when I was small, then when I grew, it was so clean, because we had done the hard work in the beginning.
Mm,
And so I would say to the person, book your call, get out of your way, like get out of your own way, and let's figure out what it is that we can help with, you know?
yeah,
Um, so
Sarah, can I ask, do you
yeah.
think people are scared to want to make money? I mean, we have the idea that we
Sometimes.
want to make money, and
Yep.
yes, we want to be profitable, but I mean, do we limit ourselves sometimes?
Yeah, I've only ever had one coaching client that specifically told me that. She's like, I am scared. She's in the accelerator program now. You guys, this gal on fire. When I started with her, in her first call with me, she said, I'm not good with numbers at all. I'm really scared. I'm growing and I'm really scared because I've never been able to manage money well. And so I don't want to grow because I know I'm going to mismanage it. So she she is on track for $6 million this year.
Wow.
That is in a year and a half. Like phenomenal. And I always tell her, you're doing the, because she's thank you. And I'm like, you're doing the work. Like I just give you ideas and advice. So she told me that specifically. I think some people subconsciously think that, right? So I was just visiting with a brand new client in the mastermind program, and I started asking people like, what was your upbringing with money? Like, what was your home life with money? What is your husband's home life with money? To try to figure out, and so we're talking about, well, my parents never had a budget. They kind of bought whatever they wanted, different things, right? And so subconsciously, yes. So she's same thing. Like she's nervous. If I grow, I don't know how to have a budget. Am I just going to lose? Is it more to lose? So I'd rather stay small. So I think subconsciously, yes, there is a lot of that piece of it. And a lot of times, like with growth comes a lot of other growing pains that sometimes scare us, right? Like I can't manage people, so I don't want to grow because then I have to have people or, whatever, make bigger decisions. So yeah, I think it does limit some of us. And some of us don't know how to even articulate that that's really part of the
Like
problem.
looking back, I think that was my problem. Like I don't think I would have been able to articulate that to you, but I think
Yeah.
in my head, I didn't think I could make X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Just didn't think I could. But
Yeah.
because we started when I wasn't and we laid the groundwork, I do feel like I just was my own enemy at the beginning.
Well, I know like for me, my dad owned a small business. I was just talking to Jim about this last night because I'm listening to this really interesting book on the psychology of like generations and how in our DNA, it's not just like how we look, like the color of my hair and the size of my nose. It's also how we process information, how we communicate. Like they're finding that that's in our DNA as well. And so this is just fascinating book I'm reading. And I was thinking about it yesterday when I'm listening to it on Audible about my dad. See, he owned a small business and there was like super highs and lows. So we'd have lots of money and we'd always do vacations and all the things, and then no sales and no money. And that was brought home. I know now, like he knew nothing about numbers. He's really great at sales and he's great at customer service, but he wasn't good at managing people and things like that and didn't know, 40 years ago how to get, like there weren't tools like there are now. And so I brought that to my own business subconsciously. And then when we ended up losing everything, I remember telling Jim, like, I'm not my dad. I'm not my dad. And he's like, why would you say that? I'm like, I didn't do it, but in my subconscious, there was that feeling like I'll never be able to grow it and do well because I can't, because he didn't those things are real. And so just with the business coaches I've had done a lot of work on, Ciara, you're your own person. And with a strong foundation and the right tools, you are capable of handling money well, growing a business and not losing it. And I can't remember now the last time I've had those thoughts with the growth that I've had. Like I haven't even thought about like, I'm going to lose, if I grow, I'm going to lose it all. But those are real, Candy. So it's interesting that you brought that up. And if we don't, and that's where coaches can come in too and say like, I'm going to suggest this book to you or this podcast. Have you thought about this thing? Because we don't know sometimes, like what you said, Megan, like how we're in our own way. We don't even realize like where those roadblocks are. So yeah, there's so many interesting facets. We just think we're going to open a door and sell some stuff.
That's all we want to do, right?
That's all we want to do.
Sell the pretty things, and it's just so much more. But
I just have a passion for everyone that's listening. I want entrepreneurs to know there are so many lies that we're being fed. And those lies limit us too. You won't be profitable for 5 years. You shouldn't take a paycheck if you're an owner. I don't know who made up those things, but they have become written in stone and we buy into them and then we use them for excuses. And there is just a better way. There's a better way to do business. And I see women succeed and it's just so exciting to see the confidence and to see them succeed in whatever success looks like to them. small business, big business, sell your business, close your doors, open more doors, it's just super exciting. So it's fun to have you guys along now helping, because there's so many people that need help. I can't touch them all and help them all. And so it's nice to have a couple success coaches that we can, so we can touch more people and get to more people and give them solutions. So thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, I hope this was an awesome episode for you. In the show notes, I'll have a couple different links than we typically do. You can just head over to ciarastockeland.com, click on the Work With Me tab. If you don't want to look at the show notes, click on the Work With Me tab. You'll find different ways to work with me. The Inventory Genius Toolkit, which you can add a success coach onto that package for very inexpensive. It's very economical, and you get to work with either Megan or Candy. If you do that, you can also apply to be part of the Profit Accelerator program. So if you are looking at expanding or really working on paying off debt, or you really want to work one-on-one with me, that is something you can apply for through that program. I also have fractional CFO options for those of you who are looking to just really add that higher level financial strategist to your team. So lots of different options to fit what your budget and your time and your business. And we are so excited to bring you into the Inventory Genius Network and to help you out. Thank you so much for listening today. I will see you all next week. Bye for now.
Hey friend, thank you so much for tuning in today to the Inventory Genius podcast. If there's something that you heard today on the podcast episode and you want to dig deeper into becoming an inventory genius yourself, I want to invite you to head on over to my website, ciarastockeland.com, where I have multiple ways that you and I can work together on your inventory. I want to help you with your profit, your cash flow, and your paycheck, because at the end of the day, it's all related to your inventory. So head on over to the website, connect with me. I'll work with you soon. See you then. Hey there, friend. So I've already invited you to grab your copy of the Inventory Genius book. But if you're ready to go a step further and dive in, if you want a quick start to becoming an inventory genius, then I want to also invite you to grab your seat and the Quick Start to Inventory Genius course. This really easy to digest course is going to include all the tools, spreadsheets, and systems you need to implement the Inventory Genius method immediately in your business. We'll talk about creating an open to buy plan. We'll talk about creating a profit plan. We'll talk about creating a business budget. And then we cap it all off with a private one-on-one call, you and me. Yep, that's right. The Quick Start to Inventory Genius course includes a one-on-one coaching call with me. So you can go through the book, you can go through the Quick Start to Inventory Genius course, you can write down your questions, and then you and I can get on the phone and problem solve together. Head on over to ciarastockeland.com, grab your seat at the Quick Start to Inventory Genius course. See you there.